Today we're going to jump into Houdini and I'm going to show you guys how to do a really simple cloud setup with just a few nodes that you can arc direct very easily and get a lot of detail and control out of. So let's go ahead and jump on in. I'll show you how to set that up. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is hover over the viewport and hit D, and I'm going to change my background to dark so that way we can actually see what we're doing when we start working with the cloud. And I'm going to throw down a geometry node, and let's name this cloud. Dive into here, and I'm going to create a sphere. And in the sphere, I'm going to change it to polygon, up the frequency. Let's make it 20 so we have enough subdivisions to actually get some detail here. And then I'm going to throw down a mountain stop. And if you don't know what a mountain stop does, it's a noise modifier, essentially. And I'm going to use this to get some better defined shapes as part of my base. So you'll see what I mean here in just a minute. So I'm going to up the amplitude here so that we get a better base for our cloud setup. And let's actually change the element size a little bit. And I'm going to offset it, try to get a bit of a different shape. Something like that. That's actually pretty well. Let's do something like this, and we'll bring the amplitude down a little bit. All right, so we have kind of a good base here, and I'm actually going to take a transform node and throw that down and scale it by 2 on the Z so we get a little bit of a wider base, and maybe like 1.5 on the X. All right, so now all I do is throw down a cloud node here, and with this cloud stop, what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of checking the different angles to see how it looks, from all around. And it's that easy. So we have a base already for our clouds. So with that setup, what I'm going to do is throw it on a cloud noise. Now this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to go in here and kind of define my shape a little bit more. If I go up into scatter shapes, I can say visualize as polygons so I can see what the actual form looks like. And then I can add in secondary shapes. And you'll see here, if I up the shape size, we get more of the cloudy, like little wispies and whatnot. And you can go as crazy as you want to with this. And it actually has some noise options inside of here that you can change. If I up this to 5, we get a bunch of crazy stuff going on. So I pulled this down here. We have all these options. So you can go in here and just tweak and tweak to your heart's content. But we'll keep it pretty simple for this setup right now. And what I'm going to do is take this and adjust the random seed scatter so I get a little bit different setup here. Iterations are kind of like something like that, because you get these cool little billowy parts on the edges here. And then I'm going to fill source, which is going to fill this out to be a lot more cloud-like, puff it up a little bit, right? So now you can see why we were working with our base shape, because it helps give us the base for our cloud. So now if I go into cloud noise, actually let me turn this off, visualize. And if I go into cloud noise here, you'll see the difference, but not a ton just yet. But if I go into my noise settings here and I adjust my element size down, and then what I'm going to do is actually turn up if I go to volume, I'm going to change this right here in our cloud, the cloud node. You're going to be bouncing back and forth between these two. This is your base and this is the noise layer essentially. So we're going to go back to our base cloud layer, and in the volume tab under max axis, I'm going to change this by size because I'm just used to dealing with voxel size rather than the division size. And so I'm going to change this to 0.0. Let's just do 3 right now. And you'll see we're definitely getting a lot more definition. So 3 to 5 is 0.03 to 0.05 is a pretty good range to at least just be able to see what you're doing in the viewport. And then I'm going to go back to my noise node here and adjust the size of the element. So now you see that we're starting to get this really cool cloud shape. And you can go through here and change the noise option in the mountain top and the offset to get the different shapes. So this is 7.5, so I'm just going to copy this because I kind of like this shape. But if I scroll through here, you can see how quickly you can get different iterations of cloud shapes just with a few simple nodes. So I'm going to go back to what we had, and let's actually up this. I'm going to go back here, and this is our, let me see our base here. And let's not go too crazy with that, but I do want to add more in there. And then we can make these a little smaller to get a little more definition. Go back here, and there's a good base. Now, another option, that's pretty much what we're working with then for, as part of good practice, throw down a null. And I like to change this. If you hit Z, you get your shapes. I like to change this to the circle and call this out cloud, right? So this is the end of our chain here. Tidy up, hit L, and we're set. We're good to go. Save your file. And if you want to see what I was going to say a minute ago is if you want to see a little bit better definition of what you're doing here, you can go up, and I'm going to add in a distant light, and it automatically, if you add that, it automatically goes to the origin of the scene. So just make sure this is checked, this lockbox. I'm going to zoom out and let's see, just throw it down wherever. And then I'm going to unlock that and get out of the view. And you can see now that we're getting actually some shadow information and whatnot. So we can get a better idea of how our cloud, will look and react under certain lighting conditions. So that is the basic cloud setup. Now, in order to get this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over, port it over into Cinema4D, and I'm going to use Octane to render it out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to convert this, throw down a VDB convert, and I'm going to convert this into a VDB. So I'm going to change this from volume to VDB, and I'm going to leave everything the way it is. And then from here, what I do is I just throw down a file node, throw down a file cache node, and I like to make those, colorize those so I know what the cache is. Let's name it what we want our cache to be, and let's call it Cloud 01. And under here, change this to node name. And then, most importantly, over here, if I expand that, you change this to VDB. If you leave it as the BGO, it's not going to import properly into the other programs that you're wanting to use to do your final rendering and setup. So this is literally all the setup is. It's super simple, and we do not need a simulation. We just need a single frame because there is no animation on this. You can animate it, obviously, and output it if you want, but we'll leave it at that. So then all from here, all you do is just hit save to disk, and you're good to go. I think I already had made a version of this, so I'm going to do, actually, under here, under here, I can just version up to 2, hit save to disk, and there we have it. Now, to make sure that that came in properly, what we can do is come over here, throw down a file node, and we can navigate to where our file is, version 2, bring it in, and there we go. Now, it may not look like anything happened because I was already flagging this, but this is this right now is showing us our VDB file. So that's what we started with, and this is what we ended with. So now we're going to go ahead and jump over to Cinema, port it in, set it up in Octane, and kick this bad boy out. So I've already brought in my VDBs that we kicked out, but I'll show you real quick how to set it up from scratch. You just go to Objects and create a new VDB volume, Octane VDB volume, and then find your file. One thing you want to make sure, I already have mine here, is the VDB that we just kicked out. And when you do that, you'll see that it automatically is teeny tiny. I don't know if you can barely see it there, probably super small. What I'm going to do is change this import units to hectometers, which I don't know why it imports directly. I mean, if you're importing it from Houdini, it makes sense. It imports as meters because that's Houdini's scale. So hectometers is what Octane wants to read it at. But again, Cinema4D's units are all over the place. So and then we see that we have our density attribute here that automatically was created in Houdini, didn't have to do anything. And so we just need to go into our medium and set our mediums. Now for the one that I've set up here, I've already done the tweaking for it. I have a value, an absorption value of 0.003 and some change. And then for my scattering, I have it at about 0.44, 0.45. And for my density, I have it at 2 and 0.03. And what that gives us, let me go ahead and undock this here so we can see what we're doing. What that gives us is a really nice setup here. Actually, let me turn on my light, just a simple daylight. And what that gives us is a really nice setup for this cloud here. Now, depending on how close or how far we're going to be from it, is how many or how dense we need the voxels to be. So tweak it to your to your liking, and whatever you want to do. This again was rendered at or kicked out at 0.03 voxels, I believe, is what we just did from Houdini. And if you want more fidelity in there, depending on how close we're going to be, you can always up that and re-export. Easy peasy, no problem. So that's how you do a pretty quick cloud setup. And feel free to tweak and enjoy. Playing with all the settings in there. Tons of stuff to play around with. And hopefully you guys can use this in your projects. And we'll catch you on the next one. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this video. If you like what you saw and you appreciate the content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then hit that notification bell so you don't miss a beat when I upload new content for you guys. So appreciate all of the love and support you've been showing. Keep it coming, keep that train rolling, and as always, work hard, stay humble.